At the beginning of the second part, we see that Riley, God willing, has grown up and is 13 years old. During these years, Farah tells us that Riley's personality has become like honey. I mean, for example, she always loved to eat street cats and treated her kindly, with her friends or with people, and if she saw someone upset, she would be happy. And because of all these beautiful things, a new place appeared at Riley's house. It's about the ropes are white in color and represent the values that you believe in. You did not understand this point correctly. It is not a problem. I will make it easy for you. Just focus with me now. If you, for example, saw one of your colleagues being exposed to an embarrassing situation and your colleagues laughed at her, what can prevent you from laughing at her too? That you, for example, are a good person. Is this your faith? There is still a good feeling in it that takes the form of a white rope like the one in Riley's brain, and rope remained behind the second and third, being all the qualities that Riley believes in and what makes her a good person in the end, and her heart is full of goodness, and of course the ones who helped her the most are her father and mother because of their encouragement for her in every step of her life. The important thing is that at the moment what we are in remains. We see that Riley is still involved in hockey, and this is what made the coach suggest to her and her friends that they join. There will be a second talented player in the camp so that they can compete with each other, and the smart one among them will take him with her in an official team. Of course, I don't need to tell you that Riley agreed, and I was very happy. But unfortunately, on the same day at night, suddenly, some workers entered the main headquarters and kept breaking things, putting things in and removing things, and of course the feelings were not there. Kanoush understood why they were doing this until they finally found out Riley has entered the stage of adolescence. The day is blue, and I have become aware of hormones, existential questions, and exaggerated reactions to anything that happens. And of course, this is a natural thing, because we all know that at this stage our thinking begins to change, and it is not about us. It will remain more complicated, and the presence of joy, sadness, and fear will no longer be enough, and therefore they welcomed. I have in mind that Professor Q and Miss Other and the engineer are an embarrassment, and the thing is the boredom of all of them. Some of them were like this. As soon as they entered the headquarters, they said, "Come on, quickly, there is no time for an explanation," and they began to use the control device. Of course, the old feelings took away from what was happening, but Farah, as usual, tried to control the situation and told them that everything would be fine as long as each one of us would do his part correctly, but unfortunately on the ground. This did not happen because Riley was exposed to a lot of problems, such as her friends surprising her by saying that she would be transferring to a second school next year. Like when they arrived at the camp, there was a girl named Phil. As soon as he saw her face hitting colors, and she did not know how to say two words to each other because Phil considered her role model in hockey, but she did not know how to deal with anyone in general because most of the data were older than her, and Cole remained in this atmosphere, and thus, because feelings can find a solution to all these problems, they split into two halves. The first half led by Farah. They saw that Riley did not have to deal with them at all. It is enough for these girls that she sits with her friends whom she loves and who love them, and the second text is led by saying that they saw that Riley has to spend all her time with Phila in order to learn social skills and have friends instead of being alone in the future. Unfortunately, instead of both parties taking God's guidance, they are looking for a compromise solution. She said to them, "No, what can I tell you? No one will worry about the future of this girl. As long as I have gone, she is holding on to the ropes that I used to have. I told you about it and threw it in a faraway place outside the main headquarters so that Riley no longer had values to hold on to. On top of that, I also let the embarrassment trap all the old feelings in a jar, and then I let the security guards lock it in the place where we forget our old memories, like for example this game that Riley used to love to play. In the past, this guy who helped them break the jar, and this dog guy who was doing exactly the same as his role, and when they asked him to help them escape. Without thinking, he showed them his backpack. "Hello, I am the backpack. What do we need to get out of this place? Do we need tomatoes, frogs, explosives?" He became angry and said to him, "Come on, Curse you. We are full for you. The important thing is that on the other side there is concern with the rest of the feelings. They started planting values. There's something new in Ra's brain so he can make her bigger and carry out their plan. I mean, for example, when the coach asked the player to divide themselves into 2 teams, leave behind Riley. She left her friends and chose Phil's band, and when there was a chance for Riley to take a break from training, she would go sit with Phil. And because of her anxiety that they wouldn't want to be friends with them, she became speechless and pretended in front of them that she liked the same things that they liked, that she would eat the same food as them, and that she would just imagine that she would stay. Their resemblance and the curse remaining from all of this is that when she came back by chance in front of the coach's office, she saw it was a red notebook. And her friends told her that the coach was where the player she would take with her on the team was evaluating. And of course at that time, Riley was so worried that it came to her mind that she would steal this notebook in order to find out what the coach had written about. Do you remember when the anxious pig threw the white ropes outside the main headquarters? This is Farah. She wanted it. You go to these ropes to return them again, and at the same time, you had to return to the main headquarters to see what happened to Cock and the person with her, Nayla, and thus to solve this problem, Farah, with anger, fear, and disgust, decided to go to the ropes. And sadly, she was the only one who went to the headquarters and took a walkie-talkie with her so that they could communicate with each other. And indeed, Sakar, after I was sad, she arrived and saw all the die now that she had done to Riley. She had reached Farah, and this dialogue, of course, made the rest of the feelings think in a negative way. Oh my God, if we couldn't go back to Riley at the right time. If we don't know how to reach the ropes, my ruin. If Riley is no longer there, we are in need. Farah tells them to guide you and satisfy you. God willing, nothing bad will happen. They always kept pushing and pressing on the bit until they left her crying, but thank God after that. They felt guilty and told her, "We are sorry and we promise you that we will not give up and we will do everything. What we can do in order to return everything to the way it was." Indeed, after these 2 beautiful words, Farah became very excited and they decided to leave here and walk from here and return from here until the end. Finally, they entered by chance into the land of dreams, and then they saw anxiety, and she was conspiring to the beings working in it that they would make Raella think. All the time in hockey and the next training, she has to interrupt herself in order to impress the coach to the extent that they leave the girl, my dear, unable to sleep because of so much anxiety. Therefore, when Farah and the emotions saw this scene, they tried to help Riley by saying that she was thinking about positive things, and even though she was really starting to relax, her anxiety was the biggest of them. She thought about all these things and went to the coach's office without anyone taking care of her. She steals the red notebook, and unfortunately, she discovers at that time that the coach is still not convinced of her, of course, at this moment, Riley. She became more and more crazy and felt that if she did not know how to change the coach's mind, she would remain a failed and worthless person. That's why, when the training session started, she played very selfishly and was sneaking around all the time. She hit one of her friends, being somewhat rigid. In the end, she received a 2-minute suspension, but on the other hand, he was happy at this time. You will have finally reached the ropes, but good morning, my joy. How will you be able? She returned again to the main headquarters, which was very far from them. She was happy as usual. He remained in Alayat until he became angry. He said to her, "But I have an idea for the backpack." "Hello, I am the backpack." "What the hell, damn it, it is missing you." A very large quantity of explosives came out of it, and he detonated it in a wall that was a large quantity barrier. It's also one of Riley's memories, so they can use it to move them faster to the main headquarters. But unfortunately, as soon as I entered, I was shocked by the scene she saw was standing in front of the remote, unable to do anything or move from her place because Riley was almost finished. She went into a panic attack from the amount of pressure, and at that time she was happy. There was no solution for her except to take away the anxiety, and she also removed the cords or the new values and put the old ones in their place. But the surprise is that at that time, Riley did not feel any change. Farah was happy. She kept thinking like this to herself for a few seconds until she removed everything. Something because she realized at this moment that it is not just a few feelings that will determine Riley's character and make her grow up for good or evil. Riley's sense of herself is what will make her know that it is impossible for a perfect human being to do good things, but against her will, she will make mistakes. She will be brave, but she will feel strong fear. But sometimes she will need quiet help. But she will have moments of madness, different values, principles, complex feelings, memories, and many attitudes. What started to be new ropes in Riley's personality at that time, but Riley overcame and got out of the difficult situation she was in and very quickly apologized to her friends who loved her, and they forgave her just as quickly, and they hugged each other while crying and making excuses, and then she completed the match. But this time without any pressure, because she had finally arrived. For the stage of psychological peace and self-acceptance, the important thing is that at the end of the film, a period of time has passed since these events. They tell us that the feelings became intimate with each other and they get used to each other, and that no one among them has complete control over the remote control. As for Riley, she and Phil joined his friends and she continued to deal normally with anyone and preferred to communicate with her old friends even after they transferred from school. And finally, with regard to hockey, Kokotib.